Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with Real Deal Talk. And today, I know I've said this before, but this guy right here, I'm going to tell you right now, folks, this in all of the guests, which I think we're at almost 40 at this point, this is the guest, and I've said this before, but I'm going to say this with confidence, that I know the least about. And he's the most mature guest I've ever had on the show at, 70 years young, okay? And I literally met him a week ago. So you guys know how I do it. I've got a list of hundreds of people, and then I'll wait for the Holy Spirit to give me a nudge, and when people are up, and then I'll text them, hey, by the way, you're up. And they'll be like, I'm up for what? Oh, yeah, by the way, you're on my podcast. Oh, okay. Whatever you say, JD, I'm in. This guy right here. But then I've got people that I'll have that come to me on the fly, and I'll book immediately if I can. And Rich right here is one of them. Rich, and I know this is an Italian name. And I already murdered it before the interview because I always try to make sure I at least get the name. The only thing I know about my clients is my guests is that I try to pronounce their name correctly. So beforehand, I'll go over the name pronunciation. And this one wasn't good. But Rich Giglio.
Giglio.
Yeah. See, I can't even say it. Giglio.
Yeah.
Is that better?
That's good.
Okay,
Yes.
that's good.
That's good enough.
So it's good enough. Let's keep it. Let's not murder it too much more. JD is what he said. Giglio, Rich Giglio. Okay, 70 years young, and I'll plant the seed before I do a word from our sponsor. Rich is a 2-time cancer survivor. Okay, and Rich and I, we were sitting in the front row of Twisted the Musical at Awaken Church. All right, if you saw that, you know. If you haven't, you need to come next year, or come to the Hero musical, which is in around Easter. All right, we'll get into that later. But so Rich was sitting in the front row. In between us was the row of where there's about a gap of about 3 or 4 feet. So he and I kind of glanced over at each other throughout the play, you know, admiring the play, et cetera, et cetera. But we didn't really we didn't meet during the play, right?
No.
So afterwards, I'm in the lobby, and Rich actually came up to me. He said, "Hey, I think I know you from somewhere." And we were trying to connect the dots, and I'm like, I mean, I know you look familiar. I come to Awaken, but we couldn't peg where we had seen each other, other than most likely Awaken. So then he walks away, right? And I think you were even close to outside or close to the door. And I said, you know what? Something nudged me. Of course, it was the Holy Spirit saying, go get this guy. He's got something. So I went and I flagged you down, remember?
Yeah.
I said, hey, Rich. I said, something tells me you got a story to tell. He said, what do you mean by that? I said, tell me you got an incredible testimony to reveal and to tell. He said, well, you have no idea. I said, no, I don't actually, but I have a podcast, and I would love for you to come on the podcast and share it. And so I gave Rich my card. And what did you think at that point when who's this guy, this kid giving me a card here?
Yep, I was prepared to be surprised.
So I said, text me if you want to come on the show. And within the hour, you texted me.
Absolutely.
And I remember I didn't see the text because it's a business texting platform, so it wasn't right to my cell phone. So I didn't see it till the next morning, till I got to the shop. And it had this, hey, you've got my attention. I want to be a part of this adventure or something. And it was interesting. I'm like, who's this? What is this? I thought it was a customer. And then, oh my God, it's Rich. So anyway, I said, this is unbelievable. So then I asked around the church about Rich, and found out this guy's like completely famous. And anyway, all right, so there's your seed planting. We're gonna so strap in, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be an unbelievable journey that we're going to go on today with Rich. So first and foremost, word from the sponsor, which is me and my family, Real Deal Sleep, our mattress store. If you're loving the show, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. The feedback I've been getting all over town, all over the church, everywhere I go is I can't even tell you how humbled I am, how grateful I am, how appreciative I am of every single one of you that is tuning in. And if you want to support the show, besides tuning in, besides sharing it with your friends, if there's an episode that you love, share it. Post a review about it. Like if something that's said or that inspired you in some way, please post a review on there. Also, if you want to support the show financially, which Real Deal Sleep pays all the bills because there's no budget for this talk show yet. Not yet. Come purchase a mattress. Or if you know somebody that needs a mattress. go ahead and refer them to me. RealDealSleep.com. You can go to the website, click on the chat bubble. That'll connect with you directly with me via text message. Then you can book an appointment. So as I do almost everything by appointment these days. So again, if you need a mattress, come see me. We have everything from the most basic mattresses to the finest materials in the world, sleep systems that are going to take you to the promised land of sleep. Pillows, sheets, name it. We've got it all. So Real Deal Sleep. If you want to support the show financially, come and support it with buying a mattress or referring your friends. So there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with Mr. Rich Giglio. Not bad. I think it's not too bad, right?
No.
Okay, so Rich, let's go here, bro. Let's go. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's go back now. Where were you actually born and raised?
Born and raised in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Get out of here. Did we know this already? How do I?
No.
See, this, folks, this is why I love getting to know my guests live. Because, dude, I'm from Jersey. I was born and raised in Jersey.
No.
Yes. In Montclair.
Montclair. I know we're Montclair.
Yes. So New Brunswick. Okay, keep going. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Because you don't have any Jersey accent anymore.
I don't, but I speak Italian with a Southern California
Do you
accent.
really?
Yeah.
So you were born in Jersey?
Yeah.
How long did you live there?
I lived there 19 years,
I can't believe this.
and then I was drawn to California.
California. So give me some childhood stuff. Parents, were they together the whole time? Brothers and sisters, school, anything you can remember from school as far as monumental moments? Give me the parent situation. How was your family?
My parents were they stayed together.
Yeah.
They went through the turmoil of the 70s, but they stayed together. I'm one of 12 kids.
12?
Yeah, I'm the oldest son.
12.
Yes. Yeah.
This is the most I've heard yet, because the most next to you is Pastor Samuel. He was one of 9.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. But I know that you didn't come into the world like he did. Him and all of his brothers and sisters came through a chair in the living room.
That's definitely not.
Yeah. Anyway,
what we did.
if you know what I'm talking about, tune into Pastor Samuel's the portal of life, they called it. All right. Anyway, 1 of 12.
Yeah.
All right. So talk to me about that.
We're all still alive except my brother Tom passed away Saturday.
Saturday. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Unsuspected. You know, I don't have any remorse. I don't have any mourning.
Yeah.
I know that he's reunited with his wife and his son.
Yep.
And that he is happier than he's ever been. And so I celebrate his life. And I don't genuinely do not feel mourning.
You don't?
I'm celebrating with him. I took him to Italy in August, and we were always close because I'm the oldest son. He's the next oldest. We were always close all of our lives, and I was blessed to have him in my life. He was a wonderful man, pastor.
Where was he living when he passed?
He was living in near Beach Haven, New Jersey, on the coast.
Me. That's where we went every summer.
Really?
Yes. Beach Haven.
Beach Haven.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. For all those cities on that island.
Wow. And you said he passed suddenly?
Suddenly. He sat down on the edge of the bed and said, I don't feel good. Next thing you knew, he was on the floor. It was good. It was painless.
Wow.
And he went right into the presence of the Lord and reunited with his son and his daughter, his son and his wife, and his parents, grandparents. It must have been a joyous celebration.
Yeah, no kidding. So was he in his late 60s then?
Yes.
Yep. Wow. And you said his wife had already passed?
His wife passed from complications with liver and kidney failure in June of 2020, and then his son died of an overdose.
Ooh.
A accidental fentanyl overdose.
No way.
Fentanyl was in something he thought he was taking. He died November. The song that
Wait, November of
2020.
Oh wow.
So the song that the church has been playing, the premier song,
Was it Holy Night?
The Wonderful Night.
Wonderful
A
Night.
Wonderful Night?
Wonderful
He
Night.
wrote that.
He wrote that.
He wrote that. And he performed it for church. He wrote several songs for the church. He was very involved in the church.
His son, so
leader.
your nephew.
Nephew.
And now that you're saying this, it's the dots are coming together for me, because now I remember the night of Christmas they did a tribute to somebody.
Yes.
Was that him?
That was him.
I just got chills all over my body. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I made a deal with Awaken that they could use his song if they honored him.
Oh, wow.
And they did it in spades.
Oh, of course. I mean, with Awaken, that's their number one thing is honor. Like, you even have to ask them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Wow. No, this is unbelievable. And as soon as you started talking about it, I remembered being at night at Christmas and that beautiful song. Number one, the song is beautiful. And then remembered that. I'm like, wonder who that is. That's your nephew. Wow. So then you guys have a musical background in your family? Like, are you all...
Yeah, my dad was a singer. He wasn't a musician, but he was a singer.
And so your nephew, so fentanyl is a major thing in our country right now.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oof. How did your brother take that? Was he...
He was...
Devastated?
Devastated.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I know the level of devastation that he experienced losing his wife and son are only reversed when he comes into their presence in heaven. And there was nothing, I'm sure there was nothing compared to the joy that he felt. His broken heart was put together piece by piece.
Wow.
And he lives a whole life. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
He's
It's a
back
wonderful
with him.
experience.
Yeah, he's back with him.
Yeah.
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 Wow. What I can't believe we stumbled on this already. Like 5 minutes in, this is incredible. All right, so one of 12 parents. How was the upbringing with them? Were they strict? Were you churchgoers?
Yeah, we went
early
to,
on.
Yes, Catholic church. My
Catholic.
father was very, very committed to Catholic church. My mother was Jewish. She got saved through the ministry of Fulton Sheen, who is an East Coast bishop who had a podcast, very unique.
Yeah.
And he was as close to filled with the Holy Spirit as I've ever seen somebody in that
Wow.
position. And then I led my mom to Christ. And
What age?
I was maybe it was about 22.
22.
Yeah.
So 22. Then she was probably in her 40s. I'm gonna take a stab at it.
Yeah. She went on to become a pastor, get a pastor's degree, and had a huge congregation in New Jersey.
No way.
Yeah.
Was it New Brunswick?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So how did that happen? How did you get her to...
I got saved, and they watched my life. And my father was critical, but my mother was very sympathetic. And suddenly she saw a need for what I had. She needed what I had. And
Wow. And then what about Dad?
my dad was very antagonistic because he saw us throwing our lives away by committing ourselves to the Lord.
That's what as he saw it.
That's what he saw. And I went away to a missionary group, and many of my brothers did, and he didn't like it. And 2 weeks before he died, a priest came in to give him his last rites and said, "Though your sins are as scarlet, they'll be there as white as snow." And that hit him.
Mm.
And right after the hit, Jesus revealed himself. And he had the sweetest relationship with Jesus that I've ever seen. Just a sweet love for Jesus. And it was a wonderful consolation for all of us because we've been praying for him, especially my mom. It was just wonderful for her to see that.
And this was right before he passed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So talking about that dynamic, because I've got a lot of listeners and watchers that either aren't believers yet or are on the fence. Like, okay, what does this mean? I don't get this. So to have a Catholic dad, like the difference between the two, can you sum up the difference between being Catholic and Christian and following Jesus? Can you sum that up? Like how that was in the house, the dynamic? You kind of talked about it, how he was antagonistic, right? So what does that mean?
They would have prayer meetings at the house, and they would sing, and he was not happy with his life being disrupted by singing, and his house being taken over by 100 young kids, and so he would leave notes. He left a note. He said, "Dear brothers and sisters, this will be the last meeting you'll have at the house." And he signed it, Brother Sal. They kept having meetings.
They did?
Yeah.
And so the difference between the two.
The two. Well, a Jewish parent says, make sure you take your books to school. The Italian says, make sure you bring your lunch.
Oh, my gosh. And then Catholicism compared to Christianity.
I took it very seriously.
Yeah.
I wasn't offended by the things that the Catholic Church taught because I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
So it was cool with Mary and all that, and Mary's still cool.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to honor that woman. She's not a saint. She should be a saint, but she's not. And really, the Christianity is all about what Jesus did on the cross, giving his life so that we have life. He took away our guilt and shame and forgave our sins, past, present, and future. I don't know that God knows the future, but I know that Jesus died for my sins, past, present, and future.
And so then Mary, talk to me about the side of Catholicism with Mary. What's the viewpoint there?
She was the mother of God. She was really, in Catholicism, she's raised higher than Jesus.
Okay.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners. Pray for us sinners. And it's not bad, but what happened is it led to other things. It led to kind of a humanism in the Catholic Church that became very abusive. And around the world, I go to Venice, and Venice, they won't even talk about religion.
Really?
Because they've been burned. They've watched their parents get burned by the Catholic Church. And then they're listening to all these problems that the Catholic Church has been having with the priests. And they point their fingers. It's easy out. It's an easy out for them not to follow the church because there's these other guys that did all this wrong stuff. Yeah.
And so then how did you, growing up with your family, if your dad is Catholic, mom was Jewish, how did you stumble on Christianity?
My mom's dad, Saul Tomberg, became a Christian when he was 65. And he would come up from Florida and he would share Jesus. And nobody liked it. Nobody liked that talk, but
Nobody.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Did any of your other brothers and sisters
I think
like
they
it?
might have.
Yeah.
We never really talked about it.
Yeah.
Because we saw my dad not liking it, and then I went to Florida. Actually, my father sent me to Florida to work with him. I had tickets for Woodstock, and my father was seeing all the things going on TV. The traffic jams and the drug use, and the media was presenting these people as just absolutely scum of the earth.
Yeah.
And so to protect me, he forbade me to go. I was 15, 16, and he sent me to my grandfather's for the summer, and that's where I got saved.
No kidding. Come on.
The evangelist, the Jewish...
Wait. wait. So you were going to go to Woodstock.
Yeah.
He prevented you from going to Woodstock.
Yes.
And instead, he made you go to your grandfather's.
Grandfather's in West Palm Beach, Florida.
And so,
working his restaurant.
So I'm not going to say this backfired on him.
That's interesting. I've never thought of it.
But in a way.
Yeah, it did.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I guess Grandpa was safer than Woodstock, in his opinion. There you go. Even with all of his Jesus.
All right, so tell me about Grandfather. Like, tell me how that went. How did, at 15, did you go to church with him? You're like,
yeah.
Hey.
Oh, gosh, he was a born-again believer. He was totally born again. Loved Jesus. Talked about him all the time. He opened a series of restaurants in West Palm Beach called Tomberg's. And they looked like restaurants from the outside, and they served the best Jewish food, but they were really evangelistic centers.
Yeah.
He had tracts and chick tracts and Jesus tracts, and he would make sure that people got one when they came to get their food. Mostly Jewish people, and he had a real heart for the Jews. You know, he would feed hundreds of people in the rest homes at no charge.
Really?
Every week. He was just a wonderful human being.
And so what was it about? Did you go to church with him?
Yeah.
Like, which visit did it for you? You were like, you know what, that's it.
He had his friend, an evangelist, sit down with me in a booth just before I was ready to go back to New Jersey. And the guy won the argument, but my heart hadn't changed. And then about a year later, and then I went back to New Jersey and I got involved with a Christian community of people my age. And then God basically showed me my sin, my conviction, and I just remember being on the floor. It was around Thanksgiving, weeping about. And I'm saying to myself, what is it? What's going on here? And I just got up and I just felt clean. I felt better. And I talked to my Christian friends about it, and they said, yeah, you had a conversion experience. And so it was really, was nice. It was nice that I was able to move in that direction.
And so going back to, you were with the guy, the evangelist guy. So how long were you in Palm Beach at that point? A week or two?
No, I was there for the summer.
The whole summer?
Mm.
So it wasn't until the end of that summer that you accepted Jesus?
Yeah, I had gone fishing with this guy, and he was showing an interest in me and he was evangelizing me, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Then the last day, he kind of cornered me, and he, asked me questions that I couldn't answer in the negative, and like, when you die, where you're going to go? Are you sure you're going to go to heaven? And so I played along, and a year later, it sunk in.
And so when you played along, you're counting that as when you got saved?
I think that if I had died, God would have accepted me, because I had made a decision with my head. And I think that's the first step. And then the heart follows.
Yes. So then when you came back, did you tell Dad what happened or no? Probably not, huh?
Oh, he knew. Everyone knew.
He knew? What do you mean?
I became a different person. I was driving around with a car that said Jesus saved on the bumper, on the front license plate.
Are you serious?
Because Jesus was everything. Started singing Jesus songs. One of the people in our community in New Jersey had come from Calvary Chapel in Anaheim or Costa Mesa, and she had all the Christian music, that new love song, and all the new Christian rock. I wouldn't really call it rock, but it was modern music. And it was because I'm a musician, I just gravitated to that immediately.
Wow. So your dad, I want to say this again, because stuff like this is what I love, man, when we start realizing how God has a plan. Where he was diverting you from there, and you went here, and because of that, your entire life went a different direction.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is unbelievable.
All right. Okay, so then you come back. So everybody knew. Did he express his displeasure that you had Jesus on the license plate and that you're following him now?
Yeah, he didn't like it. He didn't like it because he didn't understand it, and because he felt it was an affront to the Catholic faith.
Got it.
And at one point, he said, "So what you're saying is that everything we've learned in the Catholic Church is wrong. We've been duped." And I said, "Yes." He said, "No, I'm not going to accept that."
Yeah, my grandpa, God rest his soul, he would get into it with this type of a because my mom used to get into it with him all the time about this because he was devout Catholic. I mean, he went like every day, and nothing else, nothing else. But he's the guy that had the biggest influence on me as a man. My dad wasn't present at all, so I love him. So anyway, I had to mention that because I remember the arguments that him and my mom. I didn't know what was going on because she never quote unquote pushed anything on me. I was never anything other than positive. But anyway, okay, so go now. Your brothers and sisters. When did people around you start realizing that you had changed? Like, whoa, what's going on here?
I went to Youth with a Mission, missionary organization, and came back with all of this on fire faith, and one by one, they started to they wanted what I had, and they began to they committed their lives to the Lord. And of my 12 brothers and sisters, I think all of them are Christians. There's a couple of Catholics still, but most are made a confession of faith because they saw my life. They saw my life.
And that's the biggest thing I'm realizing, Rich, on my journey. I'm about a year and a half in on this. Is because of the life that I'm showing, my wife and I, my family and I, that we're showing to the world via social media. It's attracting so many people because people are like, whoa, I want what they have.
Yes.
This beautiful, harmonious life of love, passion, serving others. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
We don't even have to really say anything. We just live.
Yeah. St. Francis said, "Preach the gospel in all things, and if necessary, use words."
And there you go. That's what I'm realizing is we're just showing our life and how beautiful it is to live this type of life. This guided life, I call it.
Yeah. How do people not? How do people? What do they fall back on?
I've been thinking about that more and more lately, Rich, because I was a very faithful guy as far as laws of attraction. Everything happens for a reason, and it was great, worked well. But there was just something, just tiny bit missing there. Like you said, like how do you guide if you don't have something, like you said, to fall back on, like this thing to? Because when you go through hell during life. We all do. In one form or another, we battle things. We have battles. We go through like with this business, it's ups, and we go through hell. Well, how do you keep going? And it's the faith, and walking with Jesus, right? Knowing that we're good, we're fine. He's got us.
He's got us.
We're good. That's what I'm realizing now. He's got us.
And it's during those hard times that we discover things about ourselves that make us closer to God. Colin Higginbottom said I was praying with him through the recession in the 2020, and he said, "I've just gotten closer to God. I've gotten more dependent on Him." And then he said, "It's where I should have been all the time."
It's funny. I talked to Colin yesterday.
Oh, did you?
He's literally my favorite guy in the world. Like, I love that guy. His passion, his faith, his love.
Yes.
He's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, all right. Okay. So now, all right. So Jersey, now give me anything. Did you play any sport? Oh, you said musician. How did you stumble upon? Did you start playing early? Did you know you had a voice? How did that happen?
My father, I had a good voice at a very young age. My father would train me at night when all the kids went to bed. He'd keep me up and he'd make me sing, and he really sowed his life into me and his gift. And so I was a good singer at an early age. Then when I was in high school, he got a guitar for his birthday and wasn't that interested in it, but I was being influenced by all the influences. The Beatles had already come, and then the English invasion, and all the musicians, all the music, and so I gravitated toward music.
And then, so did you play in a band when you were younger, like in high school?
No, I didn't, because I worked for my dad and literally was supporting my family. My dad kind of jumped the fence, and I handled the business.
What do you mean, jump the fence?
He started having affairs and staying away for long periods of time.
Okay. And then, so you said you worked for your father?
Uh-huh.
What does that mean?
He
had a business?
Yeah, a business. He had
Okay.
a garage door installation business. So I took over. He was there. My uncle and I ran the business. Ran the business.
And then you were pretty much supporting the family?
Yeah.
And then but parents stayed together?
Yes.
Mom?
My mom's conviction in Christ and her hope in my father's salvation gave her the strength to stay.
Yeah.
The staying ability, and it paid off.
And so how was the home with that many kids? Was it just chaos? Do you remember?
It wasn't really chaos, but I really don't know any different.
That's true.
I cannot imagine what it would have been like with one or two brothers or even a single child. But it was not chaos. But everyone had to pull some extra weight. Now, I became, especially in this time when my dad was partially absent, I became a father image to my youngest sisters.
Yeah. How many years between you and the sisters? Probably at least 10 years, right?
No, it's 20.
20?
My mom was pregnant for 19 years.
Holy cow. Wow. That's insane.
Yeah.
This is the most brothers and sisters I've heard of, let alone on this show. Oh my gosh. So how many boys, how many girls?
6 and 6.
6 and 6? Come on. And you're the oldest.
I'm the oldest boy.
The oldest boy.
I have 2 older sisters, but they look to me for my guidance.
Your guidance. And now is anybody out here in the West Coast besides you?
No.
They're all in Jersey?
My brother Tom's oldest son is in Ventura, and then his middle son, Thomas, is lived in Chula Vista.
Chula Vista?
Yeah.
And tell me you guys called him Tommy.
No, we called him Thomas.
Really?
I called my brother Tommy.
Yeah, because, I mean, the Italians, everything's with a Y, right? Did you have a Jimmy, a Johnny, a Tommy? What were the other names? Give me the other names.
Yeah, it's an I. In Italian, the I is pronounced E.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Right. All right, give me some other names of the brothers.
Oh, I have...
Salvatore,
Raphael, Thomas,
Tommy,
Peter,
Petey,
Joey,
there we go.
And then and Salvatore was called Plinky because he was a kind of a genius on the keyboards.
Really?
At a very early age, he was playing very complex stuff, all by ear. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. All right, so give me something about your, the singing career. Did you get into anything? Where did you go with that? Did you wait till you got out here in California? Did you do anything with it in Jersey?
Not really. I was never really self-promoting, and I had my kind of head in the barrel, just working, supporting my family. And then after the divorce, I continued, but I got involved in music. So in 2001, I got an electric guitar, and I found a guitar teacher to teach me. Prior to that, I just strummed an acoustic guitar. So my whole life changed as far as musically when I turned after I was divorced.
After you were divorced?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so go back. When did you get married?
When did I get married?
Yeah. You skipped it. You got a divorce on me already, and we didn't even marry you. See, this is what I do, Rich. If you skip ahead on me, we're going back.
Okay, 78. 1978.
So 78.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that means, let's see, 78, let's see, 7, so you were around 20, somewhere around 20-ish, right?
I was 27 when
27,
I got married.
okay. All right, so hold on, let's first, when you came, was it after high school, 19, did you go right from Jersey at 19 to the West Coast?
Yeah, pretty much.
And how did that happen? Like, what made you choose?
I wanted to come to California because I was attracted by the Beach Boys lifestyle and the music. And when I got here, I lived with a friend of a friend who was very involved in Calvary Chapel during the Jesus movement, and I was swept into that.
And this was at 19?
Yeah, roughly.
In San Diego?
No, it was up in Costa Mesa.
Costa Mesa, okay. What made you choose that? Like, did you know somebody there?
I had gone to a Youth with a Mission camp and heard a guy by the name of John Dawson. He was about my age. And what he was talking about, hearing the voice of God and doing these amazing exploits, I thought, that's what I want. So I followed him to California. And between the lifestyle, the Beach Boys lifestyle, and following him to see what it's all about, I came to California, got involved with Calvary Chapel and their music program. I started to get involved in the music program, and then God reminded me why He brought me out there to join this organization. So I left Costa Mesa, came down to Sunland, California, the Sunland-Honga area, and where the base was, and served on that base.
What does that mean?
It's a missionary training organization. They send people all over the world, and they train you in the principles of God.
And you're saying that's what the reason God had you come out here was because of that?
Well, I came out on John Dawson's invitation.
Yep.
He said, I'll disciple you if you come to California.
Got it. And then you said God reminded you why you were here.
I was getting involved. I was being invited to play with some of the groups like Love Song and I don't remember what other bands, but we'd all go to connect groups together and we'd play, and I would play, and they liked the way I played. And at the time that I was just getting an opportunity to matriculate into the Christian music scene, God said, what's going to glorify you more? What's going to glorify me more? I said, I know the answer. And I left and went to Youth with a Mission.
So it was going down to the mission where they train.
Yeah. Yes.
And so you helped with people to train?
No, I wasn't helping. I was being trained. I was being discipled.
Okay.
I was being discipled.
Got it.
And from there, yeah. And then I went on mission trips and just changed my life.
Okay, so tell me about give me some stories about a mission trip. Like what that entails. You get down there, they're like, okay, here's where we're going. All right, cool, I want to go there.
So we went down to Mexico City to do a Bible distribution. And we were on the street talking to people, and I met this musician who spoke a little English. And he and I started playing together, and he absolutely loved playing music with me. And while I was there, we would sing and play, but he wasn't a Christian, so he didn't know the Christian music. And then I'd play Christian music, he'd try to play along. And we were only there for a short time, but we distributed Bibles to people all around the Mexico City area.
So you would literally just walk around?
Yeah. Hand people Bibles.
And hand people Bibles.
And they took them.
Wow. And so for how many weeks would you do this?
It was about we took a bus down there, so
Yeah.
it was about 2 weeks.
Okay.
You know,
Oh, so you took a bus.
camping along the way, and having a solid community of people.
And then tell me about this now. This is fascinating to me. You would, okay, cool. Let's wake up tomorrow morning. We'll have some breakfast. And then we're just going to literally walk around and hand out Bibles for the next, 8 hours?
Pretty much.
That must have been just incredible in itself.
It was.
Give me the reaction of people. Like, what was the percentage of people that were receptive, and were there ones who were like, get out of my face, or just would walk by? And now, especially in a place that most people aren't speaking English.
Yeah.
Am I right?
You'll find that in the larger, sophisticated European cities, people speak English all over the world. So when I was in Mexico City, people did speak English, but handing a person a Bible, they recognized it because it was a Bible. They didn't know it wasn't a Catholic Bible, it was a Christian Bible. And it wasn't the St. James version that the Catholics read. It was more of a modern version, like the Message or New International Version. And they enjoyed it. They enjoyed it because they could understand it. They would open it and read it, and they'd start reading, and I'd be standing there. And they'd just start reading, and they had a smile, and they said, they told me they could understand it. And I said, great. So people liked it, and the word got around that people were handing out free Bibles. And we were Americans, and you can tell that right off the bat, too. So we had great experiences.
And now what would make you choose Mexico City?
I didn't choose.
Oh, no, what would make them choose it? Over okay, let's go to Tulsa.
They have their hand on the pulse of the world. And they knew that this was a place that was needing evangelistic revelation and grace. And the component of the language barrier was intentional so that we would learn to get through it without speaking or having the luxury of the language, fluent language. So it was good. It was good training. And these classes still go on today. When I went to Youth of the Mission, there were 1,500. I think there are 25,000 now.
Wow.
And subsequently, I know all the leaders in Youth of the Mission, which is nice. But I'm not really involved. I support Youth of the Mission here in San Diego. And
then how were you at this point? How were you funding what you were doing? Because you're not working with your dad's business anymore, obviously.
Yeah.
How were you financially supporting yourself?
I learned the concept of living by faith.
Aha. Talk to me about that.
The money would just show up. And if it didn't show up, then I would do without. But I always knew that God was with me. So I never worried.
Give me an example of that. Like when you just all of a sudden money showed up and you're like, whoa. I know you got a ton of examples.
When I met a woman and we got engaged, my mom sent me several $100s to buy her a ring. I had no idea how it was going to go. I knew I wanted to marry her, but I didn't know. I wasn't there. Her father was a little trepidatious because he saw that I didn't have an income, but I was strong, motivated, and I could go to work. I could go to work. So we got married, and it worked out. Just everything just works out.
And where did you meet her?
In Youth with a Mission.
You did?
Yeah.
So this was your wife?
Yes.
Okay, so you met her there.
Yes.
And then how did that go? Like, what, did you just hit it off? What was the, and I know, how long before you proposed to get married?
We were on staff. She had gone through the classes. Now we were on staff. And she was attractive.
She was attractive.
There you go.
There you go. All right. So then you went on a couple of missions together?
No.
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 She was, I had just come back from smuggling Bibles in Romania.
Smuggling Bibles? What does that mean?
It means smuggling Bibles.
Okay. Expand. You can't say that without.
Okay.
Like it's a normal thing.
I went to Israel to study because I knew I was Jewish. I wanted to find out what was going on. I wanted to find out what gave King David his heart of worship. That's really what it was. And I went, and I became part of a movement called Israel Aliyah, where they would train you, put you on a kibbutz and train you 4 hours a day in the classroom on the language and the culture. And they didn't get into the religion, but it was the language and the culture. And then for 6 hours, you would work in a factory or whatever that kibbutz produced. And I became, and so I was working on the kibbutz, and someone told me that there was a man in the hospital who needed blood. He was a Romanian expatriate, and he wanted to go back to Romania and smuggle Bibles. He needs a strong man, young guy, to travel with him. And so I went to visit him in the hospital, and that's what happened. So I lived with him for several months, and Oral Roberts University had a international printing press in Jerusalem, and they printed small and large print Bibles and small pocket Bibles for us.
You smuggled Bibles.
Yeah. And then we got 6 large soft shell cases and put clothing in them because there had just been a devastating earthquake in Romania. So we brought clothing, and in the pockets of the clothing we had vitamins and medicines. And because he was a Romanian, he knew what they didn't have and what they needed. And so it was an amazing thing. The guards would in Romania would open the suitcase and they'd feel around it as if they knew there was something there, but they didn't. But they were getting bribed. He got a white shirt and a couple of $100 bills in a bag and some perfume, and he'd hand it to them. He had several of these. He had them all the guards. So it was like a bribe, and then they didn't find anything, so we were released and we went on.
And so, but the guards were being paid off, basically.
Yeah, they were being paid off.
So this is Romania.
Romania. It was during Ceausescu. It was during the time of that horrible dictator who was eventually beaten to death on the street.
Wow.
But I saw a lot of things go on in Romania. Yeah.
So give me one of your most inspiring stories in your mission trips or during this time. Like, do you remember a time that you were just the most amazing thing that you had been a part of? One that stands out for you on either the mission trips or...
I was, after several weeks, the Secret Service figured out what we were doing. And there was a time where they weren't after him because he was a Romanian, but they were after me. I would be a trophy as an American. And I ran. I was in good shape. I ran. I was jumping fences. They were right after me. And I lost them. Of course, I was lost, but I lost them. And I eventually was able to connect with my friend, and we went up to an apartment, and we had a Bible study, and hundreds of people were jammed in this little apartment to hear about the gospel. And then I went back to where I was staying, and the police came and said, no, the next day was the day that we left. I went to the airport, and they wouldn't let me leave because I was under investigation. And the Swiss Air pilot came off the plane and said, I'm going to get you out. I'm going to get you home. And so we went back. He said, just go home, Go where go stay where you live. Don't answer the door. Don't do anything, and then come back to the airport, and in the morning. So I went back, and I got a flight out.
And so you came back to the airport.
Mm.
And so you saw the pilot?
No,
because he said, "I'm going to get you out."
He arranged a flight for me with.
Oh, he did.
I guess with one of his another pilot from the Romanian airline, and they issued me a ticket on site and just brought me back.
Were you nervous? Were you scared?
There was an element of excitement.
So there's faith right there.
Yeah,
you just had faith it was going to work out.
But, yeah, what's God going to do now? And it really almost was a non-event for me to just get on the plane and take
For anybody
off.
else, they'd freak out.
Yeah.
It's not guided by faith.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, we have the strongest faith for ourselves. I mean, I had the strongest faith for myself.
Yeah.
And all through my life and all through my trials, I had the strongest faith for myself that God was not abandoning me.
It's incredible. Incredible. All right, so keep going here. This is now, how long were you married for?
20 years.
20 years. Wow. Okay, hold on. So you went to Costa Mesa. You were doing the missions. When did you get to San Diego? And how?
After the youth of the mission, which was about 2 years, I went back to New Jersey, and my brother Tom and his wife went into youth of the mission, and I ran our little storm door, screen door awning company in Beach Haven, New Jersey.
Beach Haven.
And then he came back, and then I left again. And I went down to work with my grandfather for a while. And
in Florida?
In Florida. Yeah.
And then where'd you go from Florida? How did you...
Actually, I got married before I left California, so I brought my wife back.
That's right. Yeah.
He left, and then when he came back, my grandfather wanted me to work with him, so I moved down to Florida with my family. At that point, I had one daughter. And I worked with my grandfather. I loved the inspiration of his faith. And
what did he do? What business did he have? Or what was he working?
Chicken. He did a Jewish...
Oh, that's right.
Chicken restaurants called Tomberg's. Very famous.
He's the one that had the restaurants.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Got it. 5 different locations, and they were really evangelistic centers. He would witness to the Jews that came in for the food. And, they loved the food so much, they never were offended. They never were offended. They loved him. He was a true example of a Christian. Just loved people, loved them.
And then, so now your wife and daughter are there, right? What's your daughter's name?
Jennifer.
Okay, so then from there, how did you get to, did you go from there to San Diego? Did you go back to Jersey?
From there, we went to Lindsay, California, where my wife's best friend was living, and her husband had a construction company. And so I went to work with him. And it was just at the time that the bottom of the raisin market had fallen out.
The raisin market?
Yeah, in that area, the raisins are the commodity.
Yeah.
And then I moved down to San Diego to answer a want ad for somebody who understood the garage door business, which I was in with my father.
Yeah.
I went down, interviewed, they accepted me, and I became the manager of a company called San Diego Garage Door. And then the owner, had severe diabetes, and he died.
Wow.
And I told the union representative that my only hope is to close the shop and open it as a non-union. He said, don't tell anyone I said this, but that's the right decision.
Wow.
And so I did that.
So it was already unionized.
Yeah.
And so you said the only way this is going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So we went into, I opened it out. I opened it from my home and it was very successful. I moved it to a site, industrial building, and ran it for several years.
And this, are you in your 20s or 30s at this point? Probably 30s, right? Yeah, I was going to say 30s.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what made you look to San Diego in the first place? Like, why do you, okay, let me look in San Diego for a want ad.
Oh, because we were in, Bakersfield, Fresno area, and San Diego was like the promised land.
Oh, yeah. You knew that.
Yeah, people were making money, and it was a lot of trades were in demand, and so that's why I went.
So just looking at a want ad. Okay, yeah. So then you take over the business, you start it back up as a non-unionized business, and then and this is, we're talking about what, is this 80s or 90s at this point?
Not 90s.
Not 90s, probably 80s.
Yeah.
Probably 80s, right? And then, and where were you living in San Diego?
We lived in Chula Vista.
Chula Vista,
and then we moved to Coronado.
Oh, yeah. Coronado, I arrived in 91 on an aircraft carrier.
Oh.
With the Navy.
Yeah.
I sailed around South America. That's how I got here. Okay, so talk to me. Keep going with the business, with the garage door business. What was the next thing that happened? What church were you going to out here? Give me the whole scenario.
I was going to Horizon,
okay,
which is a Calvary Chapel.
Yep.
And I decided to sell the business and just start a business in Coronado, garage door company. And I felt like the demand that I was experiencing in Coronado could sustain my family, and it did. I sold the business, and the guy went bankrupt, and I never got paid.
Ah.
Right. So,
so you sold him the business, but had you already sold the one that you took over with the non-union?
We closed. It was closed because it was owned by when the owner died. It was owned by his son,
right,
who had a substance issue, and so he sold all the equipment in the shop. It was a big shop with a lot of equipment. And they would build those one-piece doors right there in the garage and in the shop and load them on the trucks and take off.
And then, so when you restarted it,
yeah,
was that the one you said you sold?
Yes. The one I started was the one I sold.
Okay. And that's the guy, when he bought it, he went bankrupt?
Yes.
So then you didn't even get your money?
No.
So he went bankrupt with your business right away?
Yes.
How long did it take him to go bankrupt? Like 90 days? Was it quick?
Yeah, no, it was like it was like 6 to 9 months. He was making payments, and then payments stopped. And I heard through the grapevine that I had a lot of government contracts. I was good at bidding and estimating, and he was selling those contracts to one of my competitors, and they called me and said, this guy's selling these contracts. I think he's going bankrupt. So I called him. He said, no, you denied it, and then he went bankrupt.
Yeah, because that's a red flag right there.
Yeah.
You start selling those. Yeah. Okay, so what did you do? What did you do from there?
I was still doing a garage door company in Coronado, and it was sustaining me. It was nice because I lived there, and I worked there, and my name got out among the other contractors. And to this day, I'm friends with many, many contractors I worked with back then, and. From there, I got into financial services. There was a guy at church that had a company that did living trusts, and so I worked with him. And that's...
And then how long did you do that?
I did that for about 3 years, and then I found out that he was defrauding people. He was selling them annuities that he was printing on his printer.
Oh, wow.
There was nothing behind it. These are older people, and so I came in one night and photocopied all this fraudulent stuff and tried to give it to the FBI. They didn't want it. They said it was an insurance problem. I went to the insurance commissioner. They said it wasn't one because it's not really insurance. And so back and forth. And finally somebody brought him to justice.
And then so did you move on from there? Did you continue to?
Yeah, I started doing financial services. There were still people who believed in me. And so I started doing financial services, and I did pretty well. I went into, became a securities advisor, and I did pretty well with that, too.
And then what was your wife doing at this point?
She wasn't working. She was teaching at San Diego State while she was studying for her master's degree. She was teaching a lab.
Yeah.
At San Diego State.
And your daughter at this point, you had one daughter?
At this point, I had 3 children.
3?
Yeah.
Rich.
They were doing well.
Wow, you got a lot done in a few years there. We were at 1 kid.
We were
not that long ago.
No.
So now you got 3 boys, girls. What's the
2 girls and a boy.
2 girls and a boy. And what's the boy's name?
Christopher.
Christopher.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good name. And then all right. So go back now. You were doing the financial services. Where did you go from there? Were you looking for your music career? Were you singing? Were you doing any of that stuff at this point?
I was singing and playing. I was doing jams, blues jams around town. I became very popular, and I was going out 3 or 4 nights a week and playing. And
Croce's? Did you play at Croce's?
No. Croce's was a little more sophisticated than my style.
Than your style. Where did you play?
But I knew Ingrid. I got to know her.
Yeah.
Croce. So my style was novice and all the mistakes that go with it. But I was also following the blues. So eventually I got good. And it started playing. And I wasn't really attracted to going to a club at 7 in the evening and leaving at 2 with $50 in my pocket and smelling like cigarettes.
Yeah. Because back then you could smoke in the bars, I remember.
So I didn't really pursue a band.
Yeah.
And
so you would just riff with people then? You would just go and...
Mm-hmm. I'd sit in. I became so well known that people, even to this day, will ask me to sit in if I'm watching a live band that I know.
And by sit in, do you mean grab a guitar and pop in?
Mm-hmm.
That was your thing, is the guitar?
Yeah.
And acoustic?
No. I played Stevie Ray Vaughan electric.
Shut up! Come on.
Texas blues.
Wow. So you had the electric guitar. Wow.
Yeah.
So even if you're watching people say, "Hey, come and sit in."
Yeah.
Oh man, that's cool. Do you still to this day?
Mm-hmm.
Where have you played recently? Like, where do you play?
Recently, I played at McPee's in Coronado.
McPee's, I know McPee's.
Yeah. There's a few bands that play there, and they asked me to sit in.
How often do you go and watch over there?
Probably 2 or 3 nights a week.
Oh, really?
Because it's in my pattern with my dog. We walk about 2 miles.
So you'll pop
twice
ahead
a day.
in there?
Yes, we stop in. He loves it. He's a very social dog, so everybody knows him and loves him, and so it's his little thing, his life.
Oh man, I would love to go there with you.
All right.
Yeah, keep me in the loop. I'd love to just experience that.
Okay.
Just see what's going on over there.
Yeah.
Because I know McPee's. I went there way back in the day when I first got here in my low 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was here.
Yeah, it was here. It was a very popular. It is still a very popular kind of Navy SEAL military.
Yeah.
Home base.
Yeah. All right, so keep going here. So now you had 3 kids at this point.
Yes.
How was the marriage? How did it go? Everything good? How was life as a father? Can you give me any pearls?
I heard Ricardo Montalban say once that my children don't need a friend, they need a father. And that really affected me. It really kind of separated the identity of who I was for my kids. And then the Bible, teaching them I would bring them to church, and my wife wouldn't go to church. But teaching them...
She wouldn't go to church?
No, she became involved in the Gloria Steinem and women's lib movement.
Yeah, because you met on a missions thing.
We met at a missions organization.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a deterioration of her resolve and conviction. And
looking back, why do you think that happened? Or how?
I think that she was offended by someone religious, and she held that grudge. She was offended, and it was a kind of a way out. I was getting more and more into the faith, and she didn't like that. She didn't like that I was spending so much time at church, and she was an alpha, so she really wanted to be in control, but I wouldn't let her in some areas, and it didn't go well.
And so kind of an out would be to switch gears, right, for her, and be offended, right?
Yes. Yes.
Got it. Okay. And then so you said the women's lib thing?
Yeah.
So what's that all about?
It is very much like the woke movement today. Victimization, feeling like the victim. Pastor Jurgen says that unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die.
Right.
And that was really the perfect explanation of how her life went.
And so then how long did that go on before you were like, you know what, that's it?
I could live with that because I wanted her to have. She'd go to church. She'd go to the Christian Science Church. She'd go to other churches. I knew she was mad at God, and I had to give her some space. I tried other things that didn't work, so I just give her space. And then she started teaching in the college system, and she started having affairs with her students, and it got to the point where she wanted to live that apparent lifestyle instead of being my wife.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And did your kids know this?
Yes. Unfortunately, she was having an affair with our marriage and family counselor in Coronado, and everybody knew it.
Everybody knew
I was
it.
the last to know, really.
You're kidding me.
No.
And the kids knew it.
Yeah.
Wow. So what, obviously, at that point, that's when you're like, all right, that's it. That's a wrap.
She divorced me.
She did. You were willing to see it through?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, God gave me a new heart for her. It was like we were first married. We were just lovers. So she went, I challenged her to come out of this relationship. And at that point, it had gotten very dark and controlling, and he was a doctor of behavioral science, so it was almost like he hypnotized her or bewitched her. And she came out of it. She was great. And then her sexual appearance started taking control again, and she went back into that relationship. She divorced me because she said she felt I could never forgive her. The truth was she could never forgive her. She couldn't forgive herself.
And this is a family counselor. How crazy is that?
Well, I thought it was pretty crazy.
I thought it was pretty crazy. The just so unbelievable. When I hear stuff like that, I'm like, it's just like, how do you even?
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume he was married too?
Oh, yeah. And this was not the first time. He told her that he'd had affairs with other clients, and sometimes they'd move away. He had a strong clientele of military.
That's right. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, and they'd be, the guy would be on deployment, the woman would be feeling,
Oh yeah, lonely.
lonely and fearful, and she would go to him, and that was his ploy.
And this guy is did he get? You lose all your licensing doing this stuff, right?
He did. The counselor that my wife and I started going to after she came out of the affair brought charges against him, and he was sent to prison, and he lost his license.
Wow. Good. Because that's just awful.
But up until that point, the man would just take his wife and move to another city. Nobody ever challenged him.
Wow. That is like just so wrong on so many levels. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so she divorced you. Tell me about how that went, how you felt, how you moved forward. Did you just not even blink an eye? How were the kids at this point?
The kids were they had a lot of questions. They had a lot of fears and anxiety, and of course the social pressure.
Yeah.
And I found myself one day at home, in my bedroom with a gun in my mouth, and I thought to myself, I don't want my daughter to come home from school and see this. So I took the bullet. That's why I didn't shoot myself, and I'm so glad.
So you actually, for a second, thought about it.
Oh yeah.
This was after the divorce.
Oh yeah.
And it was because of the divorce.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you decide not to do it?
I didn't want my kids to come home from school and see me with a hole in my head. The trauma was more than I could agree with or accept. And so I had suicidal thoughts for a while, and then started coming to Awaken Church and began to build myself up in the Lord and my confidence, and it changed my life. And being involved with the church like that.
How long did you have these suicidal thoughts? How many years?
A long time.
Long time. 5 years?
Yeah, probably.
5 years.
Yeah, I didn't. I would run a blues jam in Coronado, and I would think to myself as I was driving over, I would think, this will be the last time I see my friends because I'm going to kill myself. But I never got around to it.
And so this is not that long ago.
Oh, 20 years ago.
20 years ago. So we're in the early 2000s.
98.
98.
97, 98.
98. So you got divorced in 98?
Mm.
And so for the next 5 years, you had these tendencies, these thoughts, roughly?
Well, on and off. Maybe not that long. Maybe 98, 99, 2000. In 2001, I found a guitar teacher to teach me how to play electric guitar, and that was really cathartic for me to play music. And I got a hold of a Stevie Ray Vaughan CD, and I could just feel the passion in his playing, and that's what healed me. The outlet of passion.
Because that's what I was going to get to, is what stopped these thoughts.
It was an outlet. It was listening to him and listening to other musicians and realizing they had gone through this too, and people I talked to.
So a lot of these musicians have gone through this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, recording artists.
Yeah, yeah.
They sing about it.
They sing about it.
Oh, yeah.
And that helps you to identify.
Yes. It's probably not your favorite song on the album, but for me it was, because I heard the anguish of a broken relationship and divorce and stuff like that. It was, and of course, yeah. I didn't start going to C3 until 2013.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
So I was in a Baptist church, and the pastor and I became friends, and we talked through this stuff. And I had a friend who lived next door who was Captain Lee Axtell, who was a chaplain in the military, and he knew how to handle this too. So I had a lot of people who saved me.
And so during this time, you had him, you had
Pastor Cameron, Lee, and I had other Christian friends.
Were you telling them that you had suicidal thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you tell your kids?
No.
No.
They don't know.
They have no idea to this day.
Yeah, to this day they don't know a lot about Lori and a lot about my experience leading up to the divorce and then after.
Wow. And so, so then you playing the electric guitar was like therapy for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then what? So then what? Because now we're talking a long time, over 10 years to get to C3. Because C3, which it was C3, then it became Awaken. Jurgen, took it over, changed the name, which wasn't too long ago.
Well, he didn't take it over. He started C3.
He started C3.
C3 is part of a network of C3 churches all over the world.
Got it.
Led by Phil Pringle, and Jurgen and Liam were launched by Chris and Phil Pringle in Australia to come to San Diego, and just around the time of the pandemic, Pastor Jurgen decided that he would become his own denomination because it was getting so big. No other C3 church had multiple campuses. And so it was a good move. When we moved into the church in Balboa, there's a huge sign above the entrance that says Awaken. And that was 2013, and it wasn't until 2020 that he actually felt it was the right time to become his own denomination.
So Awaken, that name wasn't there. You're saying it was there before?
Oh, it was only written in the above the foyer, but it wasn't the name of the church until later.
So, but he didn't. So, the Awaken, the name was already there, or did he think of the name and?
Yeah, he thought of the name.
Okay, so they just wrote it there.
That was a 24-hour fitness.
Yeah, right. But I remember it was C3.
Yes, it was C3.
Yep. And then he didn't turn into didn't change the name to Awaken until 20.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how did you get to C3? What attracted you to how'd you get there?
My nephew Thomas was leading worship at C3 for many years. It started in 2005. I was playing on a worship team for a Navy SEAL church in Coronado, and Pastor Jurgen came to speak in 2005. He had just gotten here. I just figured out he'd just gotten here. And I liked what he said, but it didn't seem to me like he had a church, and so I never really pursued it. And then my nephew, Thomas, started going to the church and really loved it. And
how long had your nephew been living in San Diego?
Oh, he'd been living here a long time.
Long time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And, yeah. And so he would come to the Baptist church and play a duet with me on guitar, and then he'd say, I want you to come to my church. I want you to come to my church. And it was I was kind of I was asleep in the light. I was at a Baptist church. It was nice. It was Calvinist. It was like a retirement plan, easy faith. And
good way to put it.
I went to C3 and I was just rocked.
So were you like, you said no, and then finally yes, or was it right away? Sure, I'll come.
I know it was no. I didn't feel any need to move churches.
Yeah, you were comfortable.
I was comfortable. It was convenient.
Interesting.
There's a battle that goes on in our heads with convenience versus conviction, and I didn't want to I didn't want to distract myself with conviction, so I chose convenience. And I knew that God would forgive me, and that would be okay. So it wasn't until I heard Pastor Jurgen preach, and I was doing sound at the Baptist church, and so I said, I need someone to take it every other week because I want to go to this other church. And I started going, and then after a while, maybe 2 months, I said, I can't not go to
C3.
C3. So I left the Baptist church and went to started going to C3.
So give me the first message when you went. You went for the first when your nephew took you the first time. What happened that first visit?
He was on the worship team. So
and by the way, people that are watching, a worship team means the first part of every 15 to 20 minutes of the service is a team on the stage, which is basically a band. Let's call it a band.
It's rock band.
A rock band with guitar, drums, 3 singers.
Oh, 6 singers.
Yeah, belting out a song after they do about 3-4 songs. That's called worship. Just so everybody knows, when I got there, I had no idea what that was. But I know that my first worship that I ever witnessed, which was them singing, which I didn't even know what they were singing about, tears were coming down my face.
Same with me. And I would go and I would just weep. And a friend of mine, people who became my friend, Kathy Ornello, Kathy and Paul. And Kathy came to me one day and she said, I've been watching you. Because they knew Thomas. Everybody knew Thomas. And she said, I've been noticing that you're not weeping anymore, but that you're smiling.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, so give me the first service when you went. Do you remember it? Or were you like, that's it, it rocked you right away?
Yeah, it rocked me right away.
Right away.
Yeah, it felt so right. What he was saying felt so right.
It was Jurgen the first time?
Yes. And so as they do it in the church, they do an altar call at the end. An altar call is where they ask people if they want to have prayer to accept Jesus. And Pastor Jurgen would say, if you've fallen away, you've turned away, you've stepped away, and you want to come back, we'd like to pray with you. Anybody want to have me pray with them, just raise your hand. So I raised my hand, and I didn't notice that they were...
First time in?
Yep.
Okay.
And I didn't notice that there were spotters. So I pulled my hand down. He said, I want you to do a brave thing and come forward. And I just sat there, and this person behind me comes up and says, I saw you raise your hand. Would you like me to go forward with you? I said, okay. So I went forward. And I got prayer.
Spotters.
Yeah. And I got prayer. And
did he specifically pray with you?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But after the service, he came out into the lobby to find me. Pastor Jurgen came out into the lobby to find me, and he hugged me, and he said, there's more in there. There's more. And I was encouraged.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was about 40 to 50 pounds overweight, and not happy with myself. But I just loved what I was hearing there, and he was right. There was more.
Yeah.
A lot more.
You ain't done yet, bro.
No.
You still got something in the tank.
I do.
You do. And you still got something now.
Mm-hmm.
There's way more.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow. What a crazy story. All right, so hold on. Keep going. All right, so then what happened? You came back the next Sunday or every other Sunday?
Oh, yes. I was going every other Sunday. Then I just told my pastor that I'd like to have the person take over to sound because I want to go to my nephew's church. And he liked me enough to say, okay, well, we're always here if you want to come back. So I left. That was September 2013.
When did Jurgen get to kind of know you? Like when you came back again, did he say, hey, you're here again?
Yeah, no. Well, he would acknowledge me, but I was way up in the nosebleeds. I just really wanted to experience this by myself. I didn't take anyone. I just needed to be. This was my experience with God. And it was a very peaceful. And that was September 2013. And July 2014, I became an intern. An intern is where you commit one day a week to serve a certain pastor in what they're doing and help them get it done. And we have thousands of volunteers in our church. And one way, an accelerated way of getting involved is through this intern program. It's like a Bible school. It is a Bible school. And July, and I got on the worship team. I started playing bass. And then I wasn't able to carry the music. And the pastor came up to me and said, Rich, I know you, and what's happening is not normal for you. You're losing your place, and you're losing your timing. He said, are you okay? I said, I think I am, but I know I've noticed that, so I'm going to step out and just see what's going on. And a couple of weeks later, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
I had no idea. I just knew I felt really bad. And, sometimes we are trained to go beast mode,
right?
Play hurt. And that's what I was doing. I was just trying to figure it out. And
what kind of cancer?
Lymphoma.
Lymphoma.
Yeah.
So you weren't feeling well. You hadn't gone to the doctor yet.
No.
What made you go to the doctor?
What made me go to the doctor? I was taking Percocet for a bone-on-bone knee injury, and we were just going through the process of therapy, and I realized it didn't work, and my doctor was starting to talk about a knee replacement, and then I was diagnosed with cancer. So he said, we're going to put that on the back burner until we get you through this.
How did they find the cancer?
So I ran out of medication, and I called the nurse at my doctor's office. He said, he's already gone for the day, but just go to the emergency room, tell them what's going on. They'll give you some pain meds to get you through the weekend. So I went, and Dr. Considine wouldn't let me go. He smelled something, and he just kept tracking it and tracking it and tracking it. All weekend I didn't eat or really drink anything. They kept me on a fast so they could monitor what was going on in my blood. And then they released me on Tuesday. Wednesday I got a call from Dr. Redfern that you have stage 4 cancer.
Wow. And stage 4 is like the last, right? Isn't it?
Stage 4 means that it has, the last stage. It means that the cancer has progressed.
Right. Okay, so
through your whole body.
Give me your reaction at this point.
My faith was challenged, but God, but the Holy Spirit told me that I was going to be okay. God showed me that I was going to be okay. In His Word, His promises, thousands of promises say that He was with me, and that He will heal me, and I kept that.
What did you do? Any treatments? Did you go into chemo?
Oh yeah,
did you
I went right into chemo.
That's what obviously they recommended, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so tell me about this.
They planted a port in my chest, and they would give me chemo. And there was one story I want to tell you that I was lying in the hospital bed. It was probably Sunday. I'd been in the hospital for 3 days. 2 days. I went for Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and I was almost delirious because I hadn't eaten and I hadn't drank anything, and they were giving me some medications. And I heard a commotion. I was in the ER. I was in the ER. So it happened the next day. We have Friday, it happened Saturday. I heard this commotion in the hall. This group of people comes in with this man in a robe, a kingly robe. And he walks up and looks at me, and he looks at my chart, and he said, this one's ours. Let's take care of him. And he walked out. Of course, it was a vision.
Yeah.
But it was Jesus just telling me he was going to be there. And he was. And I remember that vision. I was encouraged that God hadn't forgotten me, that when you have something like this, it doesn't mean God forgot you. We learn in the valleys where we learn things about ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I went through the treatment on.
And this was a priest that walked by. You said
it was no one.
No way.
It was a vision.
Oh my gosh.
It was as real as it could be. That was October. October was diagnosed October 14th. December 12th, I was sitting in the front row of C3, and because I had to leave the intern program because Thomas was my nephew, everyone knew about it. And I guess I had no hair. And Pastor Jurgen, during the prayer time that we have every Sunday, he came up to me and he put his hand on my chest and he just started praying in tongues. And it was like the scene from The Matrix where everything's flying past them, the weapons, and they're getting ready to go into the building. All these weapons, these things are just flying past me, and it was amazing. And I think I was healed. I felt great. I felt like I was healed. I told my doctor the story, and he said, well, I think you should finish your treatment. So I did. And I was released from treatment in March.
In March. So did they do any tests after, like?
Yeah. Well,
they feel like I'm pretty good. Did they test after that?
They did a couple of scans, and they said it's gone.
And so then that was before March, or they kept you going, or?
No, around March I got they stopped the treatment, and they said it's under control.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so Jurgen knew this? Like, yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And you came back the next Sunday. You were there every single Sunday.
Mm-hmm. I was there every single. Sometimes I'd drag myself to church. My skin was green. I had no hair, but I would go.
You somehow got there.
Yeah, people would tell me about it. I didn't realize that I was green, but Kermit the Frog says it's hard being green. So it makes sense. So I just went to church. I knew church was my hope. I knew that the Word of God was my hope.
And then, because you said you're a two-time cancer survivor, did it come back?
In 2018, it came back. And when lymphoma returns, recurrent lymphoma, it's fatal.
How did you feel bad? I
did.
Yeah.
I felt really bad. And
so when you start feeling bad, you go get tested right away?
I went to my doctor. I started feeling lumps in my neck, and I went to my doctor. He put his hands on my neck, and he closed his eyes, and he said, I feel 4. So he sent me to Dr. Redfern, and he said, it's back. And it's not treatable, but we're going to treat it. We're going to do everything we can. And so they gave me heavy doses of chemotherapy. And I'd already had the port removed, so I had another port put in to my chest. And that was in March. And in October, I had a consult with him on the 23rd of October, 2018. And he said, the cancer is not stopping. We kind of expected that. But the chemo is killing you. And unfortunately, you have about 4 months to live. And then your whole body will shut down because of the damage the chemotherapy has done to my healthy tissue. So I became an emerge captain. I named my team Braveheart, and I wore a kilt. And I went on the field in March, and I felt like I was going to die. I just felt really bad, but I
was this 18 or 19?
Emerged.
Was it
2000, March, April.
Because I think Merge was in March. Yeah.
Yeah, it was March 2018.
18. It
was October, so January, until 2019.
Yeah, 2019. Okay. And this is it. This is how long after the doctor said you've got 4 months?
4 months.
This was 4 months after?
Uh-huh. It's time. I said, what a better place to drop dead than on the emergency.
What were you doing in between that 4 months? Going to church, getting prayer?
Mm-hmm.
Give me everything.
Exploring other options. There were a lot of clinics in Mexico, but they didn't have any data on lymphoma. Hard cell cancer is different than blood cancer. lymphoma is blood-borne, so the infection is somewhere. The other cancers are cancer of the blood, leukemia. I had lymphoma, and so they never arrested the cause. They just treated the symptom. And March, it continued.
And so you became a captain.
Yeah.
Had you been a captain before?
No.
Did you say, I want to be a captain?
I told Jeff that
Jeff Forbes?
Jeff Forbes. I said, I won't be alive. They say I'm not going to be alive in March, so I want to be a captain. I think I can make it to March 15th or whatever it was. And
he said, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me about it. Tell me about the kilts. Give me everything.
So I chose the name Braveheart because that was my posture. I was going to be brave. And, of course, William Wallace wore a kilt.
Of course.
So I decided to wear a kilt. And some of my team members wore kilts. And so I still have the kilt. I like to wear it, but, it's unpopular. So
tell me about what happened during that emerge. You got to tell me. Give me some stories.
We were at Sycuan, and I had a hotel room, and every 3 hours I had to go back to the hotel room and just lay down and stay still so that my body could produce enough white blood cells to keep me going. I would be fatigued because my body because the white blood cells were battling the cancer.
Right.
And I didn't have enough to run my body, and I would be really exhausted. And so I'd go and I'd rest, and I'd come back, and that was what I did. Got strong, but still, I was living under the shadow of my death sentence. And I know the prayer saved me. And so in April of that year, 2019, I went into UCSD for a relatively experimental treatment where they took 5 million white blood cells out of my body and genetically engineered them to go back in to kill the cancer. And I had that treatment on April 9th, and it was effective.
Wow.
It was effective, but my doctor told my friend, who was the president of the Coronado board, hospital board, he said, I had 10 clients go through this. Rich is still the only one that's still alive. Well, I said, well, I told my friend Jimmy, I said, well, God healed me. The treatment can't take credit. So I know that God healed me, and he healed me because I have something else to do.
Yes.
I have something else to do.
Wow.
So in April, I was released for Easter so I could come home and spend Easter with my family. 2019. 2020, I had been involved in a very famous lawsuit with a large agrochemical company, and people were saying that this herbicide that they sold was giving people cancer, lymphoma. So I joined the suit back in September of 2015. In 2020, I got a small settlement. And at that point, I just said, this is the rest of my life, and I'm going to live this without fear, live my life with abandon. And that kind of spawned what I do today.
Okay, so keep going. Tell me, what have you done since 20? What's going on? Besides being on the Real Deal Talk podcast.
Yeah, this is a highlight.
Oh man, I'm so excited. I'm so proud of this. That I'm so honored that you're here.
I kept feeling like God wanted me to just let my imagination go. Give me the desires of my heart. And I've always wanted to play music, and I've always wanted to live in Italy. So I took 3 trips to Italy, 3 weeks at a time, and I looked at homes in certain areas. Tuscany, Umbria, didn't like it. Then I took my dog up to Italy, and we went through the northern cities, and I fell in love with Venice. I would go to the city, and I just try to feel the spirit. And there were some angry, evil spirits in some of the big cities, but Venice had a very calm, peaceful spirit. And I fell in love with Venice. I fell in love with the working class people in Venice. And I wanted to bring the gospel to them. That was my plan. So I went on Tinder, and I set my parameters for Venice, and I started talking to Italian women. And I was using a translator because I had been taking Italian, but I wasn't fluent. And I made it clear that I was wanting to live there. I wasn't trying to, I wasn't trying to create a romantic situation because I don't live there, and that's not practical. And many women responded and talked to me about what it was like to live in the cities they were in. And a woman contacted me, Lucy, contacted me. And she said, I'm a singer. I said, oh, that's great. So am I. She said, I saw in your profile that you're in a band. I said, yes, and I'd love to come to Venice and play American rock music. She said, my brother and I own the largest music venue in Venice, and we'd like you to come, but I need to hear your music. So I sent her a studio recording, and she sent it to all of her friends, all her musician friends, and they all came back to her and said, we want to be in his band. So I got a date of August 18th, and I went. And it was the trip I took my brother Tom on, and then he left on the 10th, and I played on the 18th with a band that I had just met, and we just rehearsed a little bit. And it was set up as a jam so that I could hear other musicians play and get a feel for somebody that has my style. And I found the band, and so when I go back in January, I'll play with that band, and I'm already in communication with them and sending them music that I know and I want them to know and how to play it. And there's a lot of technical issues that have held Italy back.
Yeah.
And so we're having a really good relationship. And since then since I made the commitment to go, 4 women have asked me to come and visit them in cities around Venice, which was my dream, just to visit cities around Venice, above, like 50, 60 miles in an arc above Venice, which is islands in the water. And it's just worked out.
Wow. All right, so but you already went out there and played a little bit with them, right? You said
yes.
Yeah. How many times have you played with them?
Once. We just did the show.
Yeah.
I am really not self-promoting, so I'll stay home if nobody calls me. This time, I am working feverishly on a promo package with audio and video so I can send to all the venue and club owners to itinerate the band for the summer. My plan is to go in the summer and tour northern Italy and southern Europe. I'll find a promoter. I'll get the promo package to the quality that a promoter would want to pick it up. And then I'll find a couple of promoters, and let them go with it, and then I'll come back.
And so you're leaving in January?
Yes, I leave early January
next month
with my dog.
With your dog?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. All right, so tell me, in the last, how often do you get checked? Does your body do you go in and get checks once a year?
It was every 3 months I'd get a scan, and every 6 months. And my doctor said, you're healthier than I've ever seen you. I don't think we need to expose you to any more radiation than you need. And so if you feel sick, come back. Otherwise, we won't. He still sees me, but every time he sees me, he says, "You're better. You're strong." I was 138 pounds when I was going through this. Now I'm 238 pounds. Now I'm 200.
200. Wow.
So my
And then
body's healing.
for sure. And then your kid, are your kids still here in San Diego?
My son is.
Your son.
My daughter lives in London.
London?
Yeah. My oldest daughter lives in North Carolina.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does your son do here?
He's going to school and he's bartending.
How old is he?
40.
40. Where does he bartend?
A place called Costa Azul.
Yeah, I've
He
heard of it.
bartends on the weekends and people love him. He's
Yeah, I've
just
heard of it.
loved. He's just a great, and when I go to see him, he's just a really hard worker.
Yeah, that's what I did right out of the military. I was bouncing and bartending. Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked right across from Croce's. That's how I knew Croce's.
Oh,
I worked at Blue Tattoo.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, East Street Alley, Club 66. I was in the nightclub industry. Yeah, that's how I knew it. All right. Okay, so this is how excited are you to be doing this Italy
I'm
thing?
very excited.
Right?
Yeah, I've been planning this for months. The most fun is finding the hotels and finding the right place and getting a car and talking to people, letting them know I'm coming, and then, oh yes, we need to visit, we need to meet, and blah blah blah, and all these. The band is excited to play because they played with me on August 18th and they loved it, and I really like them, and so I'm developing the style, because the American rock, American blues style doesn't exist in Italy. And there's technical reasons for that, but I'm creating my sound, my style through this young band, very young guys, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. There's a guy who's a great front man, and he'll do some singing and he'll do some background singing. He speaks Italian and English fluently, and he's a funny guy, and so he's a perfect companion for me.
That's great. Okay,
Yeah.
so Rich, tell me right now, since you've come out of this second wave, you felt like you've got something else in you. Are you aligned with your God-given purpose right now? And what is it? Like, are you feeling it? Like, this is why I'm here. This is what I have left in me. Tell me about it.
When I came back from Italy in April, I didn't have this idea. Somewhere around May, June, I felt like the Holy Spirit said, I told God that I wanted to commit myself to the people of Venice. And I had this idea about going and trying to revive the Catholic charismatic movement. It was a vision, or not a vision, but a thought. And I said, well, I'm not a Catholic. I was raised Catholic, but I'm a Catholic in bad standing because I haven't gone to confession for 50 years. I don't want to go as a charismatic because that'll scare them. The only thing left was go as a musician. So they don't know that they really don't know that I'm a Christian. They know that I'm a good musician, and I'm winning friends. I'm winning people. Eventually, I'll live there. Hopefully by 2024, I'll be able to open a club. A lot of the venue owners like me. They like my style. And 2024, I'd like to be there full time, open a club, and very simple, have a bar night and have a nightclub scene, and have a music venue, and then on Sunday mornings do church services. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't have to know now.
No, you don't. And so we're kind of like, I'll go back to your grandfather days. Kind of what he was doing with his restaurants.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Kind of an evangelistic type of approach here.
Yes. For him, it was cooking. For me, it's music.
That's right. This is exciting.
Yeah. I think, it's God's purpose for me.
Wow.
And it's wrapped in every bow color imaginable, because it's what I've always wanted to do. I mean, you pick up an electric guitar and you dream about touring Italy and touring Europe. And so I'm at the skill level that it's legitimate. And I'm developing friends in Italy that will make it easier for me. Although I do solo acoustic, and once I start living there, I'll do some acoustic stuff for the clubs at night, the restaurants, the more refined restaurants, and then so I see it all planned out.
Wow. Because you had said part of what got you through those really dark times was the electric guitar.
Yeah. Yes. All the times. I didn't spend much time in the hospital until I had that what's called CAR-T, the white blood cell treatment. And I brought a guitar with me, and I'd play.
Wow. In the hospital?
I didn't have an amp, but I'd play the guitar. Yeah. In fact, I spent 3 days in the hospital 2 weeks ago with this cold thing, and I had a guitar with me.
Incredible, man. All right, so, ladies and gentlemen, we went from just meeting a week ago, a week and a half, 10 days, roughly.
Yeah.
To now being on the podcast. There's a reason for that, right? God has a plan. Okay, so on that note, what we're going to do is we're going to land the plane with you, giving my viewers and listeners some words of God here, some evangelistic type stuff that people that are on the fence, that are like, what's going on with this life? I'm really curious as to what's going on over here. This life that JD and his family are living, and this life of fulfillment and passion and love and just running around as a light in the world. What's this all about? So do your thing. We're going to finish with you firing away here, Rich. Go back to all your missionary days, passing out Bibles in Mexico City.
Okay. I think... Can I look into that?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people find themselves mad at God. They're mad at God because of something that happened, and they blamed God for it. And it probably wasn't God that did it. It was either the person, if you're dealing with a broken heart or a broken life, it's definitely a legitimate heartbreak, but it was a person that did it. And I'd go even deeper and say that it was a satanic influence on that person's life. And if you can posture yourself with that same judgment and think of it as the person who was being tormented by a demon, you begin to have compassion for the person, and then you'll have compassion for yourself. People don't like themselves, and it's important that we like ourselves, we love ourselves. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. So you really can't love anyone else until you love yourself. And it's not a difficult jump. Get involved in a good church. Get involved in a good podcast like this one. Hear the word of God. And remember that God is for you. And he's not against you. He says in Jeremiah 29:11, I know the plans I have for you, plans for a future and a hope. And Jeremiah 12 is, if you pray to me, I will hear you, and I will answer from heaven. So my hope is that you stop and give God a second chance, because he's always been with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my man Rich, with the Word of God, a living testament, gone through cancer, whipped its ass twice in a row, right?
Yeah.
Undefeated.
Undefeated.
Still standing.
Mm-hmm.
Braveheart. Just getting started.
Just
getting started on your mission from God to do what you were designed to be, or be what you're designed to be, do what you're designed to do, your calling in this world. Rich, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming in. It's been an honor to get to know you on the air live.
Thank you.
I know for a fact you got a lot more in you, a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I'm proud to know you already. I'm proud. I can't wait to kind of experience some life with you moving forward and hear about your adventures and your life. And I can't wait to go to the Coronado McPeas and watch a couple of riffs with you. We got to do it. We got to do it. All right, my man. Rich, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. Real Deal Talk. That's a wrap. There it is.